Today, we're going to talk about something that feels like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's happening right now. We're talking about coding, after coders.
Now get this. That quote you're looking at, that's not a manager chewing out a new hire. Nope. That is a real command a developer gives to his AI coding partner. He's literally telling a machine not to embarrass him. Welcome to the new reality of programming.
So, yeah, let's just say the world of computer programming isn't just changing a little bit. It's getting deeply, deeply weird. The whole idea of what it means to be a coder is being flipped on its head.
So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it all starts with what we're calling coding's strange new conversation.
Okay, so take that engineer from before, Manu Ebert. His day-to-day work looks nothing like it used to. He almost never types out actual code anymore. Instead, he just describes what he wants in plain English, he looks over the AI's plan, and then he just lets the AI agents loose. And like we saw, he even has to scold them or use emotional language to get them to perform better. He's not really a writer of code anymore. He's more like a manager of AIs. And this is why a lot of developers are actually pretty excited about this whole thing. As tech exec Anil Dash puts it, AI encoding isn't coming for the fun, creative parts. It's getting rid of the drudgery, all the tedious bug fixing and repetitive stuff, and it's leaving the big picture, the soulful, architectural thinking to the human.
But look, this didn't just happen overnight. To really get how we got here, we've got to climb what people in the industry call the ladder of abstraction.
You see, the entire history of programming has just been one long effort to make it easier. We started in the 60s with assembly language, where you had to manually manage every little piece of the computer's memory. Then came languages like Python in the 90s, which did all that for you. Then we got open source libraries, where you could just grab huge chunks of code other people had already built. And now, well, the next rung on the ladder is AI agents, where you just say what you want. And this right here says it all. You want to calculate some compound interest back in the 60s? That'll be 9 lines of what looks like complete gibberish. Fast forward to the 90s, and Python does the exact same thing in one single line that you or I can actually read. Each step up the ladder hides the crazy complexity of the step below it. And that's the key concept here, abstraction. It's just the process of hiding all the complicated stuff to make something easier to use. So AI isn't some kind of crazy magic. It's just the next, and let's be honest, the most powerful layer of abstraction we've ever seen in coding. So what does this mean for a coder's job? Well, it's changing, big time. They're becoming less like a construction worker, laying each individual brick by hand. And they're becoming much more like an architect, designing the whole blueprint. Their job is to guide the AI, to judge the quality of the work, and to focus on the overall design.
But this new world doesn't look the same everywhere. The way AI is impacting a tiny startup is totally different from how it's being used inside a corporate giant.
To get it, you have to understand the difference between greenfield and brownfield projects. Greenfield is like building a house on an empty lot. That's what startups do. They build everything from scratch, and speed is everything. Brownfield, on the other hand, is like trying to renovate a massive, historic skyscraper. That's big tech. They're dealing with billions of lines of old code, and the last thing you want to do is break something. Stability is the name of the game. Now, in that greenfield world, the numbers are just staggering. Some startups are seeing productivity gains of up to 100 times. A task that used to be a full day's work, now it's done in 30 minutes because the AI is just writing everything. But then, you look at the brownfield world of a place like Google. The average gain there is more like 10%. Now, don't get me wrong, 10% is still a huge deal when you have thousands of engineers, but it shows the AI's job is different. It's being used more like a guide to help understand and carefully change that massive existing code base. Which, of course, brings us to the billion-dollar question that's on everyone's mind. Is all this incredible new productivity just remaking the programmer's job, or is it going to replace it completely? So we really have to ask, is this it? Is this the end of the programmer as we know it? Well, the first pieces of data are starting to trickle in, and they're pretty interesting. One study found that jobs for new programming grads have actually dropped by 16% since 2022. So it seems like those entry-level roles might be the first to feel the squeeze. But the argument you hear from executives like Google's Jen Fitzpatrick is that companies have a basically endless list of ideas they want to build. The problem has never been a lack of ideas, it's always been a lack of developer time. So the thinking goes, even if every developer becomes 10 or 100 times more productive, we'll just use that new power to build more stuff. But this creates a really thorny problem. The new job is all about judging the code the AI writes. But how do you get good at judging code if you never actually write it yourself? One developer said she could feel her own coding skills getting rusty after just a few months of relying on AI. You know the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it.
But maybe the biggest impact of all isn't about the programmers we already have. Maybe it's about who gets to be a programmer in the first place, because it seems like the doors are being thrown wide open. Now, almost everyone can code.
Just listen to this story about a guy named Maxime Cuisi. He's a liberal arts grad who manages a print shop in Paris. He had this super tedious problem with his printers, and he couldn't afford to hire a developer. So what'd he do? He just described the app he needed to an AI in plain language. By the end of the day, he had a working piece of custom software. To this day, he doesn't know a single line of code, but he built an app. And this whole phenomenon is actually a textbook example of an old economic theory called the Jevons paradox. It basically says that when technology makes a resource, like, say, coding, way more efficient and easier to use, we don't end up using less of it. We end up using way, way more of it. So the world probably won't have fewer coders. It's just going to have a massive explosion of software built by a ton more people. So we're going to leave you with this final thought. We just watched this powerful new layer of abstraction completely remake one of the most technical, high-paying jobs on the planet. The real question you should be asking yourself is, what job is it coming for next?